Ichor Holdings, a company you may not have heard of, but one that sits quietly at the heart of one of the most important industries in the modern world. If you've ever wondered how the semiconductors that power everything from smartphones to artificial intelligence are actually made, then you need to know about Ichor Holdings. This is a company that doesn't make the chips themselves, but without their technology, the chips could not exist. So, what does Ichor do, and why has it become such a critical supplier in the semiconductor ecosystem? Let's break it down. Ichor Holdings Ltd, listed on the NASDAQ under ticker ICHR, is a leading player in the design, engineering, and manufacturing of fluid delivery subsystems. Now, that might sound complicated, but in reality, it's exactly what it says on the tin. When you manufacture semiconductors, you need extremely precise systems that can deliver gases and chemicals into the fabrication process. Think about how tiny a modern semiconductor is. We're talking about billions of transistors etched onto wafers that are only a few nanometers thick. To create these components, chip manufacturers rely on equipment that can deliver chemicals and gases with incredible precision, cleanliness, and consistency. That's where Ichor comes in. The company specializes in these critical fluid delivery subsystems, gas panels, and chemical blending systems. Their customers are the equipment manufacturers that build the tools used inside semiconductor fabrication plants, companies like Applied Materials, Lam Research, and ASML. These firms are household names within the chip industry, and Ichor is part of the supply chain that makes their machines work. In other words, Ichor doesn't compete with the big names directly. Instead, it enables them. Now, let's dive deeper into how important this really is. In the semiconductor industry, precision and reliability are non-negotiable. A single defect on a wafer can ruin an entire batch of chips, costing millions. Ichor's subsystems are designed to maintain ultra-high purity, flow control, and reliability, ensuring that the right chemicals are delivered at the right time, at the right temperature, and at the right pressure. They are mission-critical components that keep fabs running. Ichor's business can be broken down into a few main areas. First, they design and manufacture gas delivery systems. These are complex assemblies that take gases like nitrogen, hydrogen, or argon and control their flow into semiconductor tools. Second, they handle chemical delivery, blending, distributing, and controlling liquids with the same kind of precision. And third, they provide specialty tools and parts that keep everything integrated into the larger machines. But like any company in the semiconductor world, Ichor faces risks. The cyclical nature of the industry is a big one. Periods of oversupply can lead to reduced CapEx, which impacts Ichor's order flow. There's also concentration risk, as a large portion of its revenue comes from just a few major equipment customers. And of course, global trade tensions, especially between the US and China, can disrupt supply chains and affect where fabs are built and who gets access to advanced technology. Despite these challenges, the long-term outlook for Ichor is tied to megatrends that are unlikely to slow down. AI, 5G, electric vehicles, the Internet of Things, all of these depend on more advanced semiconductors. And as long as demand for chips continues to rise, companies like Ichor that supply the tools and subsystems behind the scenes will remain critical. To sum it up, Ichor Holdings is not a flashy consumer brand. You won't see its logo on your smartphone or laptop, but behind the curtain, it plays a vital role in enabling the world's most advanced technologies. Its precision systems keep the semiconductor industry running, and its growth is tied to the ever-expanding demand for chips across every corner of the global economy. For investors, Ichor represents both opportunity and risk. Opportunity because it sits in the middle of one of the strongest long-term growth stories of our time, semiconductors. Risk because it is exposed to the ups and downs of a notoriously cyclical industry. Understanding this balance is key for anyone looking at Ichor stock. And that's the story of Ichor Holdings. A company you may not see in headlines every day, but one that plays a critical role in shaping the technology we use every single day. From the phone in your hand to the data centers running AI, chances are Ichor systems had something to do with it. One of the reasons investors have started paying closer attention to Ichor is the growing demand for semiconductors across every industry. From consumer electronics and data centers to electric vehicles and AI, the world's appetite for chips is exploding. This surge in demand puts pressure on the entire supply chain, and companies like Ichor stand to benefit as their customers, the equipment makers, ramp up production capacity worldwide. Ichor's revenue is directly tied to the capital expenditure cycles of semiconductor manufacturers. When big chip makers like TSMC, Intel, or Samsung announce new fab projects, it trickles down into more demand for equipment from Applied Materials or Lam Research. And when those companies build more machines, they turn to Ichor for the subsystems that make them work. Of course, this does mean that Ichor's business is cyclical. When the semiconductor industry slows down, equipment spending declines, and companies like Ichor feel the pinch. But in the long term, the trend has been clear. More chips, more fabs, more equipment, and more subsystems. So how big is Ichor today? The company was founded in 1999 and has grown significantly, both organically and through acquisitions. It's headquartered in Fremont, California, right in the heart of Silicon Valley, and has manufacturing and engineering facilities not just in the US, but also across Asia, including South Korea, Singapore, and Malaysia. This global footprint allows it to serve its customers wherever they're building fabs. Financially, Ichor has positioned itself as a mid-cap player in the semiconductor supply chain. While it doesn't have the headline-grabbing revenue of giants like ASML or Applied Materials, it plays a crucial niche role. Its revenues run in the hundreds of millions of dollars annually, and its margins reflect the complexity and technical nature of the work. Investors often look at Ichor as a levered play on semiconductor equipment spending, meaning when the industry expands, Ichor's growth can accelerate quickly. Beyond the financials, what makes Ichor stand out is its expertise. Fluid and chemical delivery might sound niche, but in reality, it's one of the most technically demanding parts of the semiconductor process. Any error can cause contamination or defects, and the stakes are high. By specializing so deeply in this area, Ichor has carved out a strong reputation among equipment manufacturers as a trusted partner. Another area worth highlighting is Ichor's innovation strategy. The company invests heavily in R&D to keep pace with the rapid changes in semiconductor manufacturing. As chip nodes shrink and processes become more complex, from 7 nanometers to 5, 3, and now even 2 nanometers, the requirements for purity, flow control, and precision become even stricter. Ichor's ability to innovate ensures it remains relevant as the industry evolves. Thanks for watching Finance Spot. If you found this breakdown helpful, make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss a new episode of Stocks Explained. Drop a comment below if there's a company you want us to cover next. We'll see you in the next one.